Hi, I'm Drew, a drag queen living in LA with my husband Curtis, my dog JB, and a lot of flashing lights. How do I afford that?
And I'm Grant, former pastor living in Florida with my wife, my 4 kids, and just static straight lights for the straight man.
Static as hell. On this episode, we talk all things mental health. Remember, we all have it.
And Drew tells me something rather upsetting about my nipples, and that's going to be my week. So I don't know why you would even begin to share
Technically,
any of that.
I was telling us about our nipples, but anyway,
I have
enjoy
my
the show.
own.
Hi, I'm Drew. I'm gay. I have a husband. Welcome to Twinnuendo.
Hey, everybody. I'm Grant, and I'm straight as an arrow.
Yeah, we can tell. What the fuck? What is that? What are you doing?
For the people who only listen by audio, why do you still do that? Also, I'm wearing a virtual reality headset. Let me explain, brother.
Your hair looks so funny.
Does it? I've been starting to part it straight down the middle. I heard that there was a cruise company that when Trump won the election, they decided to do a skip ahead cruise. Have you heard about this?
I think maybe, but
So it starts on Trump's inauguration day and it goes for 4 years. It just doesn't stop. So it's called the skip ahead cruise. So you get on the cruise when Trump becomes president and then you get off and he's not president anymore. And
Well,
so
that's the
although
plan.
good point. That sounds like hell, but I did like the idea of the skip ahead. So I thought I could create a world virtually where anyone can be president. You could be president in that world. I mean, you aren't because it's my world.
Listen, if I were president, I would be drunk with power. I would be such a bad person. I am not more successful only because I'm protecting other people from what I would be like.
Right. No, I mean, in my world, obviously Mark Wahlberg is my president.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe off camera we can have a conversation about his past, but
isn't he an ally?
I mean, not to the Asian American community. No.
Oh. Well, I'd like to say that my president is Dame Judi Dench. That's
there you
who's
go.
president
Nothing wrong with her.
in my world. In my world, my virtual world, Donald Trump's return to reality TV, and it's called America's Apprentice. And just like the end of his campaign, he just works a bunch of jobs, and he's bad at them. He gets fired at the end of every episode, and that's how he exists in my world.
So it's like a simple life.
Yeah, and someone took Truth Social and they turned it into a Word document, so his thoughts don't go anywhere. So everyone's kind of safe from him. It's pretty great. Women are in control of their bodies again in my world. They even have a bonus where they get to make a decision about a man's body once a year.
Oh.
They gave me extra nipples, but I'm a feminist, so I'm okay with it. We're about the environment. We protect the environment. The Lorax is real in my world, but he's super violent. Very violent.
He does not look like he's stable in any way. You don't grow that kind of facial hair because everything's right.
But he's protected the trees.
And the troops.
Speaking of troops, we did something about the guns. All guns are manufactured by Nerf. So war is super fun. It's so fun.
And
as
we
violent
only
as it
draft
gets,
kids. We only draft kids.
Only kids. The most violent it gets is tickle fights. And so far, just 10,000 casualties.
I would prefer a gun. If I know that I'm either going to be tickled to death or shot in the face, I would choose shot in the face. So speaking of shooting in the face, I want to shoot you in the face. Will you take that off?
Why?
It's very disconcerting. It's.
I can see you just fine.
Can you?
Do you see? Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. No, I would love you. Listen, if you just want to pop that right off real quick, Grant. I don't know if you just have a minute, you just want to pop that.
Do you
want to
do some editing magic? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, and then I'll go really quick, and they won't know. 3. Got it. Look, Drew.
Yeah.
It came off.
That was quite a bit. How long did you, when did you come up with that? How and why?
It took a while. I didn't even get to tell you everything.
It's been a while.
All churches are church's chicken in my world.
Okay.
And
you know who's the best, though? If we're doing fast food chicken, it's Popeyes every day. I'm sorry.
Popeyes.
Popeyes is...
Give me some Popeyes.
It goes Popeyes, KFC, churches. But that's because I'm Christian phobic.
I
That's on
really
me.
like that you left Chick-fil-A off the list, because if you're honest with yourself, it's number one,
Oh.
but it can't be on your list.
Well, I don't think of it as like a fried chicken place. You can't
That's
get a
exactly
biscuit.
what it is. Yes, you
No,
can.
it's not. You can get a biscuit.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, but it's white people fried chicken. That's not good. No, listen, we are here. We are queer. We're used to it.
You are.
And this
I'm
is our
getting used
first
to it.
episode post-selection. And I just want to ask you, Grant, how are you? How are you?
I think I broke. I just told you I created a virtual world. So
Oh, okay. You had already given me that answer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think
this was Jeopardy. You started with the answer. I apologize. Yeah.
I actually haven't. I'll tell you this. Ever since, I don't think I've read the news. I don't think I've watched any late night TV.
I haven't watched any late night TV. We used to watch it every day.
Every morning, I'd watch them all.
That's what Curtis and I would do.
I've watched Taskmaster a lot. That's
Have you
about
started Junior Taskmaster yet?
No. Can I tell you? I need to. I'd want to. I desire to. I watched the little promo they did.
Yeah.
And it just didn't spark joy in me. And I was like, I'll get around to it. Is it good?
Here's the deal. Well, we were going to start it last night, but then my gummy hit a little too hard. And I thought all the children were adults that had been shrunk. And I said, you know what? I'm going to wait. No, I love Taskmaster. I will watch.
So adults are just kids who've been stretched. Is that what you're saying? Kids are,
no,
you were saying
adults
have
are
been shrunk.
kids who have grown up. Wow, you
stretched.
really did get fucked up by this election. Yeah, these kids who will now not have their sex changed at school, thank God. I'm sure they're hilarious or whatever, but I don't love the Taskmaster. I love the Alex Horn. Mike Wozniak is one of the hottest men on this earth, and I would rim him for days.
Same, brother. Same, brother.
But
let me tell you.
The Taskmaster, she always bugged me. First of all, she's Canadian, so you don't even get like I think she is. Am I making this up?
I like that in your mind, you don't like her, and immediately you're like, well, she's Canadian.
No, because it's a UK show, and I tune in for the zany accents. No, she's just one of those people that's like, I'm a nerd. I don't know. Am I crazy? Like, after everything she says, she goes, was that nuts?
Even when she's Taskmaster?
Oh, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, okay.
But
because that's got to be part of the persona is confidence. You can't be that. You can't be a
right. Which maybe when she's talking down to children, it'll give her some confidence.
What a great job.
I will watch anything Mike Wozniak's on, and I've watched so many seasons of New Zealand, and if I can survive New Zealand's Taskmaster, I can deal with her. He's the worst Taskmaster beyond. He's the worst.
I think
I've watched the ones that aren't in English, and he's the worst.
I think one day we're going to find out that he was the first AI TV host. And we just don't know it yet. He's really bad. He's like a cardboard cutout.
Horrible.
Come to life. But you know, the American one with Reggie Watts was horrendous.
I know.
And they didn't do it again. They're like, oh, this fucking sucks. So what's New Zealand's deal? Do you think it's just the biggest thing in New Zealand? Because now that Lord of the Rings is gone, what are they doing over there?
Because their Alex Horn is really good.
He's really good.
And I think like the women and the gays, we watch for him.
And honestly, the Taskmaster, I mean, he's not participating in the tasks. So
right.
You're not
but
bonding
here's
to
the thing,
them.
and I'm so sorry to everyone who doesn't watch Taskmaster, but it is my religion. The thing that bothers me about him is you watch a task, and you're having so much fun. You're laughing. You're turning to the people on the couch and be like, that was so zany. How did they come up with that? And then you cut back and everyone's clapping. You know, the audience claps. We cut back to the stage and the energy is high. And then they go to the host, the New Zealand Taskmaster host, who has the personality of a doorknob. And he's like, wow, that was strange. And energy sucked out of the room. I can feel it. I can feel him sucking me through the TV. Yep. I feel like he is sucking me through the TV.
Maybe I will watch it. Maybe I will watch more of it.
I mean, he is a model. He's
like an energy vampire. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like what we do in
But
the shadows?
he's hot. which is strange. I'm not used
Like
to
the
that.
energy vampire from What We Do in the Shadows.
Can I tell you? Can I tell you why I know I'm no longer a sex addict, or at least I'm not in active sex addiction? Is because I don't find him attractive.
Who, the New Zealand man?
The Taskmaster, yeah,
Because his personality
he's
sucks?
literally a model. He's literally a model. That's his job.
Yeah.
But his personality is so bad. Don't come anywhere near me with that shit. Give me the
Why did
zany little
Why
Taskmaster
did they
kid.
cast a model? Why not? Why stray away from a comedian? That doesn't make any sense.
Because there is someone in the New Zealand television world who is so horny for him. And the end.
So we don't know what he did to get that golden throne.
I think we know what he did. He sucked you through the TV.
All of us. Thank you for the tip. I'll be watching that later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Drew, it's been a tough week or so. Actually, can I tell you
So
an
interesting.
anecdote?
So interesting, Grant, that I asked you, the straight man, how he was after the election. You've yet to ask me how I feel. Huh. Are you ignoring all marginalized people, or?
We're 12 minutes, we're almost 13 minutes in. Like, give me time, okay? It takes me a good 15 to 20 minutes in any conversation to stop thinking about myself. You know
okay.
this.
Go ahead.
And
Tell
you
me your
should have thought
anecdote.
about me. No, Drew, you should have thought about me.
No, you know who did think about me? Your wife.
Angela.
Your wife, who is, again, the most empathetic, kindest, sweetest human beings in the world. Truly, of everyone in our family, she's at the top of my list. She's number one, above everyone, which I know in our current family situation doesn't sound like a lot, but
It's not a high bar. It is a bar.
Right.
It's not high.
No, she sent me and Curtis this really sweet text about how she's thinking of us and she's so sad about everything that's happening and if we need anything, blah, blah, blah. She's just a really kind person. And then I wrote back, your body, my choice.
But it's always been that way in our family. So
That's true.
She
has to call me before she goes to the doctor.
She does. She actually, I might as well just say it. Drew, that was ChatGPT. She was like, I should probably say something to the gay you. That's what she calls you, the gay you. And I was like, yeah, what do you want to say? And then I just let her use my ChatGPT, my premium account. But it worked. It felt good. You felt heard.
Yeah, actually, I really liked her grammar.
That's how you know it's ChatGPT.
Good to know.
What I was going to say was, it has been a rough one. And so I spent the day after the election just talking to people reaching out on Instagram and such, wanting some encouragement and wanting to connect with somebody. They were feeling alone and disconnected and confused and upset, whatever. So I spent the day just kind of talking to people, and I'm in this text thread with somebody going back and forth, and they're having a horrible week. Death in the family, all kinds of other stuff going on, and then this. And
Is this a human being you know in real life, or is this a human being from internet?
Twinnuendo listener.
Oh, wow.
So they're having a horrible week. So I'm just talking to him, going back and forth. Because I just posted this thing just to try to encourage people. Like, hey, we're still here. We're going to get through this. Let's help other people.
I'm still here, but I'm here.
What's that from?
Follies. Stephen Sondheim.
I'll check that guy out. So I put up that little story, and that's what people responded to. And so I'm having this conversation with this person in a very, very difficult place. And a person from my church in Memphis that I have not spoken to since I left shot me a quick message to gloat about Trump winning, to tell me I'm wrong, and to laugh at me.
Okay, that is so sassy. I'm obsessed. Listen,
Bugs in my face.
I'm their biggest fan, and I would love to be connected with them. What an interesting take. I love that.
If you read the post, if you're not an alien or JD Vance, you would have read that post and been like, you know what? Looks like some people are really upset. Even if it's not you, and even if you don't know anybody, it's like, you know what? This sounds like a lot of people are upset. And they just dropped in just to say, America is way better off in Republicans' hands. It's not a bad day. It's a great day. You're wrong. And then a bunch of emojis, like laughing emojis. And then at the end of my message, I said something like, if you need somebody today, I'm here for you, or something. So they ended the message with, and I'm here for you. Wink. It
Grant,
was
come on.
wild.
That's so funny.
I
What'd
will
you say back?
okay. I said a lot of things, and then I ended up not saying anything.
Right.
I typed 1,000 responses. Like immediately, like my first thought was like, fuck you, bitch. My other thought was the Bible tells you to weep with those who weep. Where's that? The Bible tells you to listen first and to speak later. Where was that? Shame her with her own beliefs. And then I was like, oh, she doesn't exist in my life. I'm not going to let her exist in my life. I've got the anecdote that I can tell Drew about. And so I just blocked her. I was just
She's
like, nah,
funny.
I don't need it.
She's a She's
need it.
funny. But like, I'm
She's a
so glad you
cartoon.
have that story. She's funny.
Yeah, so that happened. So that day, it was all the non-evangelicals reaching out to each other, trying to encourage each other, and then the evangelical, that the only one I heard from was like, fuck you, buddy.
I love
Liberal
that.
tears. Cry your liberal tears.
I love that.
So Drew, we've made it to the almost 20-minute mark. So how are you?
Thank you so much. Wow, what a shocking question coming from you.
So we need to move on. The main thing I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
Drew.
Well, I'll have you know
buddy?
that when you woke up and you were just dealing with your emotions and you were just thinking, am I okay? I called a trans person. Not only did I call a trans person,
You call Alexis
I
every day.
FaceTimed. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Every day.
Listen, and I'm sorry, this is a deep tease, but we all have mental health, and I do not call her every day because I care about my mental health, okay? But that
Protect
day,
yourself.
I needed to care about her mental health because of election and such as. So I
Did
FaceTimed her.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
Did she know that we had an election?
Funnily enough, no. So I had to start at the beginning. I had to say, like, what... She didn't even know what the executive branch was.
She was like 1776. Let's start there.
And ultimately, she didn't get it. No, I FaceTime her. It's like, I don't know. I waited until I thought she'd be up. So it was like 11, 12, like 11 a.m., noon.
Right.
And she answers and she's laying down. She's sideways, which is, to be fair, when you call Alexis Bevels, she's going to be sideways.
You know
She's
what?
Sideways.
People should experience that. We're going to put her phone number in the show notes.
It's 213.
Just give her a call.
No, and all of her lights are out. She's just in like this dark K-hole. And I was being a really good friend. And I was like, you're going to be okay. You live in Gavin Newsom's liberal hellscape of California. You're going to be fine. And then she was like, oh my God, let me turn a light on. And so she went to like reach and like adjust her covers and her titty flopped out. And I haven't seen the whole titty yet. Like
Really?
I'm sure. I've caught
She
glimpses.
texted me immediately. I've seen it.
Well,
too
she
many
loves
times.
feedback. She loves feedback.
Yeah.
And I think
I
she
am
just
very
knows that
responsive.
I'll get too jealous if I see
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
But, it's a very serious moment. I'm in her K-hole trying to support her. And suddenly her pepperoni nipple flies at the camera. I'm still trying to be a good ally, but it was
So you
shocking.
said, nice.
Yeah. So what I said was,
Nice.
I'm not Grant. I'm not.
Hey.
Don't show. I'm not Grant.
Nice.
Anyway, so my day after the election was, thank God, mainly just me thinking about her nipple. So I just want to say, Alexis, you saved my mental health that day. Because the only thing I could think about was your titty.
If you know a friend is going through something difficult, show them your titty.
Show them your tit.
Show them your titty.
Grant, we should show
Hey.
people our tits because our nipples are funny right now.
What do you mean they're funny?
You know when we
They,
gain
like,
a
tell
little
jokes?
weight
They're
and our
fun- they're
nipples...
clowns?
No, they frown. They go frowny when we've gained a little weight. I went to the doctor this week. I've gained 10 pounds. The 10 pounds that I lost the last time I was at the doctor, it's all back. And it's mostly in my nipples. Look at your nipples. Aren't they frowning?
I don't think so.
Yes, they
Hey,
are
for
on the
everyone
outside.
listening, we're looking at our nipples. What?
Yeah, on the outside. Well, no, not when you raise your arms. When you raise your arms, the outside goes up. You have to keep your arms down.
Oh, they are frowny.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Do you shave your nipples?
When I remember.
I shave them every week. We get
We
really
went to
long
the-
nipple hairs, and they
We
go
do.
around. It's like a sunshine. You know when a kid draws
I
a sunshine?
currently have them. When we went
Yeah.
to the water park with the kids yesterday, I took my shirt off and realized that I hadn't shaved, and they are.
Can I ask you this? As a straight man and a dad of 4, you're
I'm
not
both of
embarrassed
those
of your
things.
body, are you?
I have the same insecurities everyone does. I do.
You
I do
do?
the thing. Oh, absolutely. I do the thing standing in line that everyone does. You know where you're like you got your hands on your hips, you're kind of sucked in a little bit, and you're looking down, and you're making it
That's
look like you're
dad.
looking casual, but you're looking at your stomach. You're trying to make
Yeah,
sure
that's
it's
a
not
dad.
out there.
Yeah,
So I
that's a
mean, yeah,
dad.
I have insecurities. Everyone does. Am I going to do anything
Well,
about it? No, but I have the insecurity.
oh, well, you're a
Hey,
straight man. You'll just take those insecurities out on other people.
yeah, you're lucky I wasn't feeling those insecurities on election day. Well, I guess it didn't matter because we all lost. Listen,
Yeah, but you live
did
in
I ever?
Florida, so we blame you a little more.
By the way, people here in Florida that are like normal are not doing well with the
Yeah.
abortion amendment failing. We kind of joke about the recreational marijuana failing because that makes us like, well, you know, because then we don't have to talk about the other one. But I literally had a conversation with my neighbor after the election, and she was just like, am I in fucking Handmaid's Tale? And then I was like, what are you doing outside, bitch? Go inside.
Yeah. I can
What are you
see
doing
your
out here?
shoulder, you whore.
Yeah, you whore. Drew, sorry, nipples. I know the moment, I developed a huge insecurity about my nipples. So we were on a church trip. I must have been, I was like maybe ninth grade, eighth or ninth grade. And there was an upperclassman girl who was really, really loud. And she was humongous. She was so tall. She's like an Amazon. And she was really loud and out there. Remember how short we were? We were like fun sized our entire lives. So
Hey, Drew, do you remember your height when you were growing up? Do you remember
do you remember
do you
that?
you remember your height? Yes,
Well,
I
you
remember.
were never looking. You were always, you
We
were
were like
always looking at the sky.
4'11" until the summer before our junior year in high school, and then we shot up a foot, and we
With
had
the
the
most
stretch marks to
painful,
prove it.
with the most painful summer of my life.
So
So
painful.
it was awful. It was awful.
Worth
So,
it.
but it was fine. The church prayed for us. They said we had demons in our bones, and it all worked out.
We prayed
But
them out.
this girl had like kind of just bullied me into being near her all the time. You know, like she would be like, "There's my little buddy," and so we
Yeah.
were in line at a water park, and she just goes, "Why are your nipples purple?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Your nipples are like see-through." I was like, what are you talking about? And then I looked at my nipples, and when we were kids, that's 100% true. We were
Really?
so white as a sheet. The only color that was on our nipple was like purple, like because you could like see
Because it was
through it.
blood. Nice.
Yes, you could like see through it. And then I was like, what the fuck? And then like the rest of that trip, people would like be like, hey, could I see your nipples? And
That's
which
beautiful.
it made me popular. But I've thought about that so many times. So you saying something's up with our nipples. Oh man,
It's
I'm
not
spiraling. I'm
It's not
spiraling.
necessarily bad. It's just that's how I know that I've gained a little weight is because the first place I see it is my nipples. If my nipples are like like even the both sides are, I mean, that's steady, then I know that I'm in a good place, like with my health.
But if they
physical
frown,
health. But if they frown, I know I've done too much.
yeah.
And they are frowning, in fact. I gotta say, my entire fucking life, when people are like, oh, do you love having a twin? And I have to be honest, Grant, no offense. I didn't care. Like, we weren't super close. Like, I didn't feel like it gave us anything extra. But now that we're old, I love it. Because I'm like, hey, what do your nipples look like? Hey, when you do this, do you get faint? Like, I love as we're falling apart, we get to kind of warn the other one, hey, this is going to happen to you. It's great.
100%. To give you a little update on my personal health, and
Okay.
I don't know if you feel that, but I don't know if you ever do this much physical activity besides going on your fancy Hollywood hikes.
Yeah, I went on a hike yesterday, so I don't want to hear it.
Do you remember we were kids and Dad would go work in the yard, and then he would come inside and die? He'd physically die. He'd get like a glass of ice water and he would die, and it would take him a ton of time for him to be like, all right. So we had Friendsgiving at our house on Saturday. And so I said, you know what?
Saturday.
I'm going to go hard on the yard. Hard in the yard, 2024. Grant's hard in the yard. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. It's going to be about 3 to 4 hours of yard work, and it's going to look awesome. It's going to be great. And about halfway through, I couldn't keep going. I think it was like 2 hours out there just constantly doing. And I was like, I physically can't. And I came inside, I got a glass of ice water, and I died for 45 minutes.
How hot was it, though? How hot was it?
85, probably. Mid-80s.
Yeah. And Florida humidity.
No, I know, but like I've been doing yard work forever and I just don't remember not being able to push through. And I was truly like, oh shit, I'm 40 years old. Like this is what dad used to do. So
I think this is a boring story.
you know what? We'll let the
The
patrons
story, because
decide.
here's the story. I
Patrons.
went outside. It was hot, and I was working in the yard, and I got tired and came in. That was the story you told.
If you want to spin it that way, then that's the story I told.
Okay, sure.
There was a lot at stake. I use the word like died. Life or death, Drew.
Okay,
Life or
two
death.
things, and then we can actually talk about what we're here to talk about. Number
The
one,
Lorax.
do you know what I'm talking about when I say Saturday?
I thought you were mocking me, and I'm just so used to it that I just roll with it.
No. Okay. So there is
Okay.
this. I don't know if this might have been after Vine, but it's Vine energy because it's really quick. But it's this video that goes around social media every now and then. And it's this extremely blackout drunk gay guy sitting at a bar with what appears to be a straight. I forget what he's asking him, but he's like, "What's today?" or something like that. And he turns the camera to drunk gay guy and he goes, Saturday. No. Saturday.
No, I haven't seen
It
that.
makes me laugh. I'll send it to you. Number two,
please do.
I said okay in response to something you said, and it made me think when my mother-in-law was here. Mother-in-law mentioned drink. I was
one episode.
telling her about this video I saw that said if anyone comes to you with something so out of pocket, like if someone comes to you and says something so insane and they're clearly looking for some sort of reaction, like the girl who texted you and was like, Trump won, you fuck, that just respond with, oh, okay, cool. It's just kind of like an agreeing, like if they come back hot, it would be insane. And so then there's nowhere for them to go. So I was telling my mother-in-law that. I was like, so now you could just say, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, cool. And she forgot the cool part, but she remembered the okay part. And for the rest of the trip, whenever I'd say anything, she'd go, okay. It was so aggressive. I was like, you're forgetting the tone of it, Diane. Like, okay, cool. Because then we can both laugh, you know? But instead
No.
I'd say, yeah, so anyway, I went to the doctor. My nipples are saggy. She'd go, okay, whoa,
Diane,
I know.
our nipples are saggy. I just found this out, and I'm devastated.
Yeah, you need to look down more often. Okay,
I
why are we
really
here
do.
today?
It's been a tough one. It's been a tough one. I just thought you and I both have had different journeys towards getting help with the challenges we've had in our mental health and seeking therapy and all that. And I bet that a lot of people who watch this, they have their own stories with it, and they probably have their own hangups around it too, because
You think
we
they
all
have mental health?
I think everyone has mental health. So I thought it would be a worthy conversation for us to have, to just talk about kind of what our journeys were. And so I have some questions that I asked Angela to put together. So she used ChatGPT. Here we go. I'm just going to ask you, and you tell your story.
Okay.
Tell your story, not anybody else's.
Okay. We all have mental health.
So growing up, what was your relationship to mental health care? What do you remember about attitudes around therapy and all of those things?
Attitudes around therapy in church was great. People loved it. They couldn't get enough of it. They loved talking
next
about the
question.
brain.
So-
No, obviously, you just got to pray about it. God will give you the answer. But when I was 13, I want to say, I was really angry all the time. And mom and dad said that I had to get counseling. And so we went. Obviously, we were part of a megachurch, and all megachurches have their own counseling centers so that you don't have to go out into the world to an actual licensed therapist. Instead, you can just talk to a Sunday school teacher about whatever you're dealing with.
Right.
And I remember it was just it was a lot of coloring. I remember it was a ton of coloring. I think I was like 12 or 13. And I was just drawing a lot of pictures. I remember mom and dad sat in all of them. Like, it was never just me alone talking. It was me drawing while they sat behind me and watched. Anyway, I think what was actually happening, the sexual feelings were coming about, and I was aware that I was evil. because of gay.
Right.
And
So
I think
you were
that's
drawing
where.
penises. Just
Oh, did I not mention
constant
that? Yeah. I was drawing
penises.
houses with penises. I was drawing
Right.
trees with penises. Anyway, and the timing of it was funny. So it was like towards the end of the school year when we started it. And then when summer hit, we slept 12 hours a night. Suddenly I wasn't angry anymore. And so they were like, oh, he just needed more sleep. Boom. And then they pulled me out of counseling, which ultimately I'm glad they did because they never,
Right.
you know, it was just we would pray as a family. That was the counseling. No, it was clearly something else was going on. But anyway, that was like my first experience with counseling. So I thought therapy was really just prayer and crayons. I was shocked to learn it was something else.
These
I don't
markers.
remember exactly. I think my first therapist ever, I think, was in Louisville.
Yeah,
I
Kevin.
had, you know, Kev.
Louisville Kev.
No. Yeah, I'd gone through a pretty bad breakup and I got like into drugs for the first time in my life because I was dating a drug dealer in St. Louis who now runs like a horny cookie shop. I think I went to therapy out of just pure desperation because I had no one. I was so lonely. I was deep within a sex addiction, but I didn't realize it. And I would say since then, that was probably like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
I would say ever since then, I've been in and out of therapy pretty consistently since then. I would say the biggest change to my mental health, I think if I had to pick like one moment where I felt like everything changed,
You have to
was,
pick one.
oh, fuck. It definitely was my sex addiction. Because my sex addiction, when you're an addict, sorry to brag, when you're an addict, it's all about you. And you're so desperate to keep whatever that addiction going is that you don't see the rest of the world. You can't see yourself in it. You can't see what's happening around you. It's just a very inner world you're living in.
Right.
And honestly, it was because I was in a relationship and I was caught in my addiction. And it was because I wanted to save the relationship that I started 12-step, started going to therapy like twice a week, and I got back on like antidepressant medications. And not because I wanted to. I didn't want to. I didn't like, that's the thing that I think a lot of people who start 12-step or start therapy is, well, you got to do it for you. You know, if you're not doing it for you, it won't matter, which is true. You do eventually have to do it for you. You do, for it to be effective, you do eventually have to do it for you. But I was so selfish in my addiction that I was doing it so I wouldn't lose this other person. Honestly, that saved my life. I think because of the other person is the reason I'm still here today, because I never would have sought it out on my own. I think whatever your reason is for going into therapy, you don't have to have the right reason to get help. You just need to start somewhere. I think that's what, and now I'm incredibly healthy. So.
And you and that person are still close, right? It was Alexis, right? And then how you guys met?
Yeah, I met her at a bukkake, never looked back. I couldn't. I'd come in my eye. How about you, Grant? You said that you just found out therapy was real when church betrayed you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the same things you did from childhood, which is like, you've got to pray. You got to pray a little bit more. The thing that Christianity teaches you is that you need Jesus because you are broken. Fundamentally, at your core, you are broken. And anything that comes out of you is bad. So anytime
Like
something good comes out of you, then it's like God at work in you. When we're talking about like our mental health, if you're depressed, then you obviously, there's something broken inside of you and it's your fault. Like God doesn't break you, you break yourself. And, you know, it's funny, everyone made fun of that Tom Cruise video that came out years and years ago about Scientology, where he like freaked out about like psychiatry. Do you remember that? He was doing some interview and they asked him about psychiatry and he's like,
He's wearing a black turtleneck.
Yeah, whatever he said about that. So evangelical Christians, I don't know if this is still true for everybody, but at the time we were growing up, it was certainly true. We saw it the same way. We didn't say it the same way, but we saw it the same way. We, you know, like Drew mentioned that all churches have their own like counseling. And the reason why is because we are afraid that you're going to go out there and get some secular mindset and someone's going to, because the answer to everything is Jesus. And so they're going to leave leave that part out. So, okay, yeah, they're going to give you medicine, which again was something that was frowned upon in the church. They're going to give you medicine and they're going to give you some coping skills, but you really need Jesus. You need Jesus. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't Christian counselors out there who are fantastic. There are. There absolutely are.
Not all men. Not all men.
But the vast majority of it, it's just it's a pseudoscience. It's a pseudoscience. Like it's just this. I mean, there's scriptures I remember people used to say about depression and about anxiety that basically made it a choice. Like, well, you're just not leaning into God enough. What does that mean? Like, well, you're just not trusting enough. And so it all becomes your fault. And you can't go outside of the church because, again, they're not going to give you Jesus. And that's actually what you need more than anything, which is a very romantic idea. You know, we do that in our own relationships. Well, all I need is you. Like, you're my whole world. That's nice. It's not true, but that's nice. You know, you do need more than one person. You can't do that. And we would say that about Jesus. And again, it's a romantic idea. But when it came to mental health, it was fucking destructive. I remember talking to a Christian therapist. I'm talking to them about really wanting to learn how to deal with the specific situation I was dealing with. Like, I honestly, I was like, how do I cope with this? And I was waiting for them to give me, there's this practice you could do. There's the, you know, whatever. So give me something from your training. Instead, they started like telling me Bible verses and started telling me to pray or whatever. And I was like, listen, dude, like,
nice.
I'm the pastor. I know all of those. I say all of those. I'm coming to you. I need your help. Tell me why my brain works the way it works. Like, it's ridiculous because I've never been to a hospital and been like, how do I heal this broken bone? And they're like, well, you know, those who put their trust in the Lord will never be put to shame. So,
well, you haven't been to
have
the
you
right
considered that?
hospital, it sounds like.
That's true. We don't have them here. That stigma still exists today within the church, and it doesn't have to be overt. Like, I know I'm sure there are churches out there who are saying this shit overtly, but it's implied everywhere. The implication that there's something wrong with you and you just need more Jesus is everywhere. And so there are absolutely Christians in your life, if you have them, that their mental health is a fucking mess and they will not go get help because they've been programmed to believe that they just need more Jesus. Yeah.
If you can break a person and keep them broken, they're yours. That's what I did to Curtis.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying really hard with Curtis.
I wouldn't say we're happily married, but we are married.
You are married.
Now,
you did it.
Before we get into your personal story, thank you so much for that response. I just had a moment, a thought, if you will. When I was going through I need to get help because I want to stay in a relationship, not for myself. But when I was starting 12-step, when I was, which was like a really horrible time in my life, you flew up from Florida or Tennessee or wherever you were and stayed with me like for a couple days or a few days.
Yes.
Because you were that worried about me, which you were right to be. Now, at that time, you were super preacher, very into God, very Jesus. What do you remember what because I remember that you were just there. So if I needed anything, you were there. Like you didn't push Jesus onto me at that moment in time. What was going through your head? At that point, I would assume you don't think people should go to therapy. Like, what were you thinking?
Well, while you were asleep, I would anoint you with oil and I would pray.
Thank you for doing that. I have very dry skin.
Yeah, I was doing something. I mean, ultimately, Drew, what I wanted to do and what people should do for people in those difficult places is just be there.
Murder, suicide.
I was just trying to be close to you. I didn't want you to be alone. I knew you weren't doing well. I didn't have any answers. I wasn't trying to give you any. So I wasn't trying to do anything. I just wanted you to be okay. And I deeply regret that.
Yeah.
Helping.
Your life would have been so much more peaceful if you just let me go.
It'd be simpler. It'd be simpler,
Yeah.
at least. The thing that pushed you to finally get into therapy, it was that relationship?
Well, no. I got into therapy.
So you lied. You're a liar?
In Louisville. Well, no. I mean, I feel like that was the turning point for my life. That was the most instantly trans rights. Transformative.
Ally.
Trans rights. That was that was the most transformative moment for me where I was forced to finally view my mental health as a thing that I had to address. And my life forever changed from that moment. But no, I got into therapy before that. I don't know if you know this. I come from a religious background and I'm gay.
Huh?
Yeah. I
Like, what kind of gay? What are you talking about? Like, you run funny? What do you mean?
No. Pee-pee and butt. Pee-pee and butthole. I'm just kidding. I'm
I
40. I'm
knew
tired.
it.
I don't do that anymore. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd gone to therapy off and on. I'd been on antidepressants for a while, but it wasn't until that moment that like everything really changed. I will say that I have made some pretty common errors with therapy and medication and such as that I just want to throw it out there. When you're doing better, it's because you're on the medication or because you're in therapy. So you don't need to discontinue it because you're doing better. Now, that may not be true for everyone. I know some people set specific goals, and once they reach that goal in therapy, they and the therapist talk about it, and they end their relationship because they met the goal. But when you're talking about ongoing mental health care and keeping yourself functional and happy if you can, you don't need to just drop off medication and therapy, and I have done it a lot. It has led to some of the worst mental health moments of my life. Most recently, not this past summer, but the summer before last. I was doing well. I was like, well, I don't really need this medication. I'm doing great. Went off it. Horrible. And then to get back on it, it takes a while. So if something's working, or even if it's not completely doing what you want it to do, work with someone to modify it. But don't go cold turkey. But if you do go cold.
Yep. If you go, gotta go.
I don't think I took my meds today. If you do go cold turkey, it's fine. People do it. You're not a bad person. You're not a piece of shit. Just like start again. Start again. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey.
Grant, you go. Now
again?
your turn. I've been talking a lot. Your turn. You do it.
What finally pushed me to get therapy?
Yeah.
Well, I was violently pushed out of the church. Right into therapy. It was never a part of my life, and absolutely everything fell apart of my life. There were a couple of moments early on in therapy that I realized if I had done this years ago, where could I have been today? Where would my relationship with my kids be?
Orlando.
Where would my relationship with Angela be? How would I be as a person? Because Drew, one of my biggest discoveries in therapy about myself, and I'd love to hear what yours is as well. I knew I was an escapist. I knew that. I knew that I would run from a bad feeling. I knew like that's why I make jokes all the time, and that's why I love movies and TV shows, because I can just escape. I know that. What I didn't know was just how emotionally illiterate I was. As a pastor and being there for people, I could look directly in the face of your emotions and try to figure out how to help you navigate them. But when it came to mine, I had this blindness. Like I just didn't know how I felt about anything. And one of the reasons why, of course, we talked about before, like our parents taught us that. Our dad's the same way. Like he's just jokey all the time, which is great. But there's
Unless
a
you're a
reason behind
faggot.
that.
Unless you're a faggot, then the jokes stop.
But like mom, she learned the same type of emotional suppression from her parents, and that just all got passed on to us. And so my last 18 months at the church, I was miserable and I was falling apart. But when people would ask me, if you'd ask me how I was doing, my honest answer was, I'm fine. Because I truly didn't know. I remember early on in therapy, there was one meeting where she had just started the meeting by asking me, what are you feeling in your body? So I was explaining about, I'd had all this other stuff going on, and, I was feeling this and this and this and this. And she said, just to be clear, just so you know, that's called shame. Like I was an alien. But that's how out of touch I was with my own emotions. And so honestly, therapy gave me a language that I didn't have before. That was crucial for me to understand myself. Yes. And understand how I related to the people in my life. So that was my biggest, that was my life-changing moment was, hey, man, you don't understand how you feel. So I just had to learn how to sit in my feelings and wade through them rather than push them to the side and make a hell of a joke. So what about you, little brother?
I would say the thing that I realized through therapy is that everyone around me, it was their fault. Mom and dad's, it was their fault. It was kind of your fault.
Yeah. That was a lot of my fault. Yeah.
The church. No,
Amanda.
Amanda, huge part. She
Absolutely her
played a
fault.
huge role. It was
Still
her
her fault.
fault. She doesn't listen to this, does she?
I don't think so.
Protect your
I'll
peace,
see her.
Amanda.
I'll see her for Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'll find out.
You will? Are we all
We're
going to
driving.
Memphis?
We're driving up to Memphis.
Yeah, no, it sounds horrible. I think that the biggest kind of epiphany for me, epiphany, beautiful name for a baby girl. I think the biggest epiphany for me was, in a way, I stopped blaming myself completely. I joke that like I learned it was everyone's fault, but no, truly, it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I stopped blaming 14-year-old Drew for his sexual assault. It really wasn't until I was in my 30s that I was able to finally, through therapy, realize that, like, I'm not a bad person. Grant, I remember being in Louisville, I had just broken up with a boyfriend who loved me and who was wonderful.
Raphael.
And
I remember him.
he's such a good artist and he loves pizza. And
You
then,
love it a pizza.
and I'm doing ketamine with a drug dealer from St. Louis. Like, what the fuck was going on with my life? I remember in those moments just being like, well, this is happening to you because you're just a really bad person. And so I went online and I took a BuzzFeed quiz. No, I'm just kidding. But I took, you can go and like take these
Which
tests
Disney
to find
character
out.
is your depression like?
Yeah. Which Disney character does ketamine? I'm just kidding. It's Ariel, obviously. I was convinced I was a sociopath. I was convinced I was a sociopath.
I had
And
the same
kept-
thing, by the way. I had a moment.
You did?
I had a moment where I went to my therapist. This was early days of like after I got fired because they were
Okay.
telling me I was a monster. And so I
Right.
said, I've looked up sociopaths. Am I a sociopath? Because they're telling me I'm manipulative and awful and all of this fell apart because of me. And I was so disconnected from my feelings too. I was like, I don't know what I'm feeling. So maybe I'm not feeling anything. Yeah, I thought I was a sociopath. I said the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and then after I killed her, I found a therapist that told me I'm not
You're a psychopath.
doing well.
Exactly.
I'm doing well. Anyway, go ahead.
I kept taking online quizzes and I kept reading about it because I was so sure I was a sociopath. And then it wasn't until much later that I realized I wasn't. There were times in my life where I carried that as my identity, that I'm such a bad person. This is also at the time when I was a special ed teacher and I was constantly giving
worst
what little money
people
I had away.
on the
Like,
planet.
yeah, I mean, I very clearly, if you're worried that you might be a sociopath, you're not a sociopath.
Right.
But it wasn't until I was in Chicago and had this therapist that helped me realize that, like, what I went through growing up was traumatic.
Right.
And no child is responsible for their sexual assault. That's an insane thing to happen.
Yeah.
As a result of that sexual assault as a 14-year-old, my parents did find out about it. Not that it was an adult man, but they knew that I had had sexual contact with someone. They didn't ask any questions. I had gonorrhea. I got gonorrhea from an adult man who assaulted me. We went to my childhood pediatrician, who was like 80-something years old. I sat on the fucking kids' table.
Right.
I
the
got a
dinosaur
toy
paper
at the end.
that you're sitting on. Yeah.
And he's treating me for gonorrhea. Mom and dad said, what happened? And I said, a girl. End of questions. Nothing else. For years, I blamed myself. For years, I thought, what a monster I was to put my parents through that worry. What an absolute monster to have made my mom and dad have to take me to the doctor. And it was through therapy that I realized that, like, no, I was a fucking kid. That wasn't my fault. That was when I went home and my first disconnect with dad happened. We'd made this big plan that I was going to go home in person. I was going to tell them what actually happened, not blame them for it, but say, I can't shoulder this load by myself anymore. It's too much.
Yeah.
Can you help me shoulder some of this load? You could have done more. You could have helped more. Can you just say, like, yeah, we should have done more too. We're sorry. And of course I did. And what does our dad do? He sits back, crosses his arms, and says, well, it wasn't my fault.
Apologize. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I meant he apologized. No,
Yeah.
of course he didn't.
In his way.
Even though that experience was horrible as well, I was so grateful for it because it just hadn't occurred to me until I'm in my mid 30s. You know, like it just hadn't occurred to me that it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And that's the thing of, sorry to drag race everyone, but RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anyone else? Can I get an amen?
That's Ruru.
That's so true, RuPaul. Once I started to forgive myself and love myself and allow myself to not be the bad guy in my head all the time, I did become a lot nicer to those around me. I was able to connect more meaningfully with everyone in my life. I would not have done that without therapy. I don't know where I would be without therapy and medication right now.
It's interesting to hear you say that you had to forget, like therapy helped you stop blaming 14-year-old Drew. Well, obviously, I'm glad you had that experience. My therapy's helped me start to blame
You're glad I got
Drew.
assaulted at 14?
No, you idiot. I said, I'm glad that you got to have that moment, you idiot.
Oh, thanks.
I was saying my therapy has helped me learn how to blame 14-year-old Drew for all my problems. But now that's less funny because you just gaslit me about your assault.
Yeah. Sorry. See, I'm the bad guy again. I'm the bad guy.
Also, what you described in mom and dad's reaction, it's what we're talking about. There are some deep wounds there in their mental health that they haven't looked at. They haven't begun to address.
I mean,
not
Dad's
excusing
response
it.
was,
Not excusing it.
No, not
I'm
at all.
saying like,
but Dad's response
it's illustrating
was
what we're talking about.
Dad's response was evil. Dad's response was that of a Disney villain. Mom's response was more in line of what you're talking about, where she just kind of silently cried. The only thing I remember her saying, to be fair, this is just my memory of a very emotional moment, so perhaps this is not completely accurate, but the only thing I remember her saying, she did apologize to me when I asked her to, but the only thing I can remember her saying on her own was to Dad,
"Are you hungry, baby?" Oh.
Yeah. No, she said to Dad, like, let him finish. Because Dad kept interrupting me to tell me that it was my fault. I do remember her doing that, but for the most part, no. I don't think she knew what she was feeling. It was probably so overwhelming for her. That's the biggest thing. Sorry, we're all over the place today. Well, we always are. That's the biggest thing that, like, if some fucking Christian narc in Memphis is going to send our mom clips of our show, I hope they send them... I hope they send her this one. So listen up, nerds. I see that it is not, let me choose this carefully because these nerds are going to take my words out of context. I don't think it's all her fault. I don't. And I know that she has spent almost 70 years avoiding emotion. And that is so difficult to undo. And so I don't hold anymore. I can't say that I always didn't, but I don't hold animosity or even anger in my heart for her because I know that what she's going through is something that she doesn't even understand. And I hope that through whatever is happening, if she does hear this, I hope that she realizes as well, and anyone else who might be going through something similar with a parent, therapy is still an option, even at 70 years old. If you want to suddenly understand your emotions at 70, like it's still an option. You're not
71 is not. It expires. So
it does. It does. Yeah.
Like hurry.
You're not a bad person for not knowing how to do it, but you are making a mistake if you've been made aware of that and you're not fixing it. And then you should be in jail.
Be in jail. Straight to jail. So what would you say to somebody out there? Maybe they're younger, maybe they're Gen Z, those crazy Gen Zers. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're 70 and they have one more year before therapy won't work for them. What would you say to somebody if they've never given it a shot? Maybe there's some stigma that's held them back, or it just seems like too big of a step. What would you say? How would you encourage someone to get going on the therapy train?
I would say, you hurt me. You hurt me. It's your fault. No, I'm just kidding.
What was that?
Yeah, give them the RuPaul quote. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Ruru.
No, I would just say, like, listen, I mean, from my perspective, it worked for me. I only know the benefits of it. I don't know the detriments of it. I had to, and she's okay with me saying this because I said it on IMHO. With Alexis, I really wanted her to get into therapy. And I know it's really hard to just start it. to just finally do it. She had insurance for a while, which she didn't have ever. So she finally had insurance, and I keep asking her about it. And she's like, I will. I know I need to. I know I need to. And then when she was over here one day, I was like, hey, I'm going to pull up Psychology Today. We're going to find the therapists that are in your insurance, and we're going to read about them. A lot of them, like, they have to write like a little thing about how they work. And then I just want you to email 3 of them. Just email 3 of them. Psychology Today makes it so easy. There's just a little window next to the profile. You don't have to sign into email, nothing. It was because I was right there and I had started it that now she's in therapy weekly. It's helped her out a lot. I don't think it's her perfect therapist. I think we're both about to break up with our therapists, which is also something that is so common. They're human beings. It's not, you're not going in and, oh, well, the practice of therapy isn't for me. No, it's probably that person.
Right.
I'm breaking up with my therapist because she shows too much ceiling, and I think that's very valid.
What?
This is not going to be great for audio, but visually, this is what I see when we have therapy. She is at the bottom of the frame. 80% of the screen is her ceiling. I know more about her ceiling than I do her shoulders. For those of you who perhaps have parents who have never gone to therapy or have someone in your life that have been talking about perhaps wanting to go to therapy, hold their hand while you do it. It really is that. It's such a daunting task if you've never done it. And you could really help them that easily. Psychology Today also, sorry, not sponsored, but the layout is really easy. You look up, like, you get a picture of them and then they have a bio, and they're like, it's just really user-friendly. I would just highly recommend it. What about you, Grant?
My biggest regret was not starting earlier. I was in such a devastating place.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like, if something's going on with my heart, I go to a heart doctor. If something's going on with my stomach, I go to a gastroenterologist. If something's going on with my foot, I go to OnlyFans. Like, there's obvious places you bring these problems to. But
I'm sorry,
like, something's wrong with their brain.
Gastroenterologist, but you also said heart doctor. You couldn't think of cardiologist, but you could think of gastroenterologist. The fuck?
Yes. So the same thing, something's going on with your brain. There are medical professionals who have studied this, but you're just going to figure it out. You know, my experience going to therapy is, I know this isn't everyone's experience, but I felt like my first 6 weeks or so, every time I met with her was a light bulb moment. And it was just someone's perspective on the outside with training and who's done this for years and years and years.
Always looking in. When you do start, you may have a lot of aha moments a la Oprah in every session, or you may not. It doesn't always immediately catch on for you. And it is absolutely okay that you do not vibe with the first therapist you try. I have a lot of experience. I always try at least a month. I try to get through 30 days. We do 4 sessions because the first session is always just getting to know you. Second is you get a little further into what's happening in your present day life, but it's still sort of getting to know you. So give them 3 or 4 moments. But the other thing is, as someone who has broken up with a therapist before, it doesn't matter. They're used to it. It's part of the job. They
do it in a
want
public
that
place
for you.
So they don't make a scene.
They want that for you. They
yourself.
Want you to have a space that you feel comfortable completely sharing in. And if they don't have that space for you, they completely understand. You do not have to be nervous about ending a relationship with a therapist. That was something I stayed in a therapy relationship much too long because I was just like, well, but he's my friend. No, he's not. No, he's not.
And last thing is just, there's no perfect time to start therapy. So some of you may be listening to this in November and going, well, January. It'll be a New Year thing. Just start now. Start taking that step towards it now. There's not going to be a good time.
An hour a week. Yeah. And if you have bad insurance, it's probably 45 minutes a week. You can do it.
Isn't that great?
You can do it, baby.
Thank you, everybody. I hope your mental health is mentaling. And
as RuPaul's Drag Race Twitter account once said, we all have mental health.
And you can't love your others if you aren't on RuPaul's Drag Race Monday nights
RuPaul?
At 7 p.m.
Is that
Eastern.
You?
No, but seriously, thank you to all of our patrons as usual. And here's what we'll say. there's exciting things in the works. Drew's hard at work on some things. I am medium at work on some things, not hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got a lot going on I'm excited about. There's going to be, we're recording something later this week for Patreon that's going to be really interesting. So
I'm so excited.
If you haven't joined our Patreon, please do. My kids are very hungry, and I need your help. Thank you to everybody, and thank you for letting me scroll your names across Drew's face, whatever direction that is.
It feels good. I like it.
Drew, do you have anything else to say? Anything else to add? Any other wisdom nuggets to drop out of your wisdom brain hole?
Listen, Trump's a bad guy, okay? And yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Will people...
Hot take.
Will people hurt because he's president? Probably. Will people die? Yeah, probably. But he is kind of funny. Goodbye,
if we
everyone.
survive, it's funny. Goodbye, everybody.
If we survive, we thrive.
Phil, hey Phil, what are Saturdays for?
Saturday, Monday.
No, what else are they for?
Saturday.
Saturdays are for the...
Saturday.
No.